Are live. This is the premiere of LDtvTalk. Thank you for being here, whether you're live or whether you're watching this on a replay. We're so glad you're here. This is my wonderful guest, my great friend, colleague, and fantastic entrepreneur, Joanna Black. And before I formally invite Joanna in, I just thought I'd give you a little bit of background on why we're here, why I'm deciding to do this, and what LDtvTalk is going to be about. So I had an amazing career in the corporate world. I was extraordinarily blessed to work at some of the nation's top companies, from advertising agencies like J. Walter Thompson to publishing companies like Condé Nast, Hachette, when it was Hachette, and Time Inc. At great magazines, and I had a great career. But I decided to leave the corporate world because things were changing, and I knew that my age would be a factor at some point. And what I wanted to do was really craft a life that was on my own terms, not on a corporate term. So I ventured off on my own. And over the course of the last few years, I've started a few businesses. But more importantly, I've done them in a way that has really made me happy. And along the way, I've met some extraordinary women who are doing the same kinds of things, starting businesses on their terms, with a purpose, with an intention, with, a commitment to giving back, all the things that you don't necessarily have control of when you work in a corporate environment. So Joanna really kind of is a perfect example of that. She has a purpose for everything she does. She always wants the betterment of society in her businesses. And what I thought we would do on this program and on future programs is really bring to light and showcase people who are doing great things. And in this world that is so controlled by Amazon and by Facebook, it's hard to break through with your message. And not that we're going to be able to influence billions, but people should know what's happening. And through your help, if you can share these stories, if you can support the people that we'll be interviewing and their projects, that will be, something that will go a long way to make a difference. So I first met Joanna at a business that she started, the She Works Collective. So I'm not going to say any more about it. I'm going to turn it over to her. And she's going to talk about her past, her present, and her plans for the future. Joanna, the stage is yours.
Hi, thanks so much for having me today, Lynn. It's really fitting because I was just thinking about how long we've known each other.
Yep.
And I think we're going on 3.5 years, maybe?
Yeah, definitely.
It's been a while. And we actually met when Lynn reached out to me shortly after the launch of She Works Collective. And She Works Collective is a passion project of mine that I launched 4 years ago. And it's a co-working space for women. It was at the time the only one in New York City. So it was a co-working space and an event space. And Lynn actually reached out, took the initiative and set up a meeting, and we just instantly connected. And ever since that day, we've been working together on different projects, different ideas, brainstorming, and really building a community of what I consider a tribe around us that really have supported us in our different ventures. So I'm so pleased to be your first guest, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Taking the initiative and just doing it.
And thanks for people who are being here, for Patty, for my sister Doreen. I think, you know what, Joanna, I'm going to say this. There are probably people who are going to watch this who, just like you, say, thank you for taking the initiative. I sat on my butt for a while, and I've wanted to do this. And what I've realized, and we're going to be passing out tidbits of wisdom, get off your ass. And just do it. So what if it's not perfect?
Yeah.
So what? You know, there's so many people. It's like, I don't know. I've got to have this in place. I've got to have. No.
Exactly.
Just do it. Just make that phone call. Just put yourself on video. Just reach out to somebody who's been there and ask them to help you. Just do it. There is no wrong way, right?
Absolutely. And it's interesting that we've started off on this note, because this was really what I was going to talk about through this entire interview, was the idea of just taking the initiative and doing something. So maybe I'll tell you a little bit about my journey.
Yeah.
And you know, why this is relevant to why we're sitting here today. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've really only ever worked for myself. I started out with starting a PR company in New York City when I was living in Canada. And this is going back about 20 years ago now, maybe a little shy of 20 years. I didn't know anything about PR, absolutely zero. But I was working in the retail space. I had stores in Canada, and I thought I really want to get into this PR world. And
you didn't know anything about it?
Nothing, zero. So I started going into the yellow pages at the time, or I think there's a little bit of research available online, and calling every single publication in New York City. So Lucky Magazine at the time, I think it existed, In Style, Oprah, all of them. Started calling them, saying to the beauty editors, "You don't know me, but I'm going to be opening up a PR firm in New York City. And I just invite you that when I do reach out to you for the first time with my first client, that you take a meeting." And I did that faithfully for 3 months. And when we eventually did get our first client, we were booked solid with meetings with editors. And 6 months after that, we were voted as one of the top 100 PR firms by Women's Wear Daily.
That's amazing.
So, you know, I really have continued living my life with that intent. And that is, what's the worst possible thing that could happen?
Absolutely.
So you get rejection, so what? You try again. Or your idea doesn't work out, so it could lead you to another better idea, or you could meet some great people. And failure, we all fail, let's face it. But in that failure, there's so many lessons to be learned. So my career has been, you know, there's lots of failures, and we hear this all the time, but actually, after running my PR firm for over 6 years, I realized that this wasn't really the business for me anymore. I was selling product to editors that in turn would show up in the pages of magazines that we all would read. And many of these products had ingredients that were not in line with my personal values. They were carcinogenic, and we were really focusing on telling a woman that if you put this beautiful red lipstick on, it's going to change your life.
Yeah.
It was not the message that I wanted to be portraying. So I closed up my shop, kept one client, and made some changes in my life. And one of them was with my husband and I. Then we weren't married. We opened up a store in Woodstock, New York, called Hip E Living. It was called Hip Eco Living, and it sold all eco lifestyle products. We were one of the first in the country to do this, and I was often quoted in magazines about how to whip up recipes to clean your home naturally, and Good Housekeeping, and in other magazines, and our products were highlighted. But the recession hit at the time, and we ended up having to close our doors, and we were almost ahead of the curve. It wasn't the right time. So timing is everything when it comes to starting a business.
Yep.
Today, we see these types of stores all over the place. But at the time, we were one of the only in the country. That idea evolved then into myself starting to consult. And my background is actually in environmental studies. And really, that's what I believe in, is protecting our environment and living a healthy life. And at the time, a lot of the green movement was happening. And I was fortunate to have a lunch, an introduction. Again, now this goes back to what you were talking about, Lynn, about I reached out to one of our vendors at our store, and I said, "I really love the product that you make. Could we set up a lunch?" So we met in New York and had lunch, and he said to me, "I really want you to meet this woman. She's in the event business, and I think that you would hit it off." So sure enough, I met her for lunch, and we did hit it off. She had an amazing company called Strategic Event Design, and they were working with companies to create green events. And she invited me to come on a pitch with her to a large media company, actually the largest media company in the world. She unfortunately didn't win the business, but they contacted me a few days later and invited me to pitch them on how they can launch an initiative that was a global initiative around sustainability. And I ended up consulting with that company for quite some time and launching a global sustainability initiative that engaged their employees and their C-suite executives. So that really kickstarted my career in sustainability as a consultant. And since that day, I continue to consult with people and companies of all sizes. However, the mission of that company has changed. So back then it was all about the green business and greening our communities and greening our workplace. That then evolved into sustainability. I actually took I became certified under something known as the Global Reporting Initiative. So I could actually go in and help Fortune 500 companies report transparently on their sustainability initiatives. And through that, I realized that I have a true passion for women and how women can change this world, and the direct connection between our environment and if we empower women and support them, women in all walks of life, whether we're here in North America or in a third world country, if we give them the power, we can make significant changes to our environment. And that's when I started really thinking about what my personal mission was. And my personal mission is this: the power of purpose, the will of women, and the gift of giving.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I saw it on your card the first time I met you.
Yeah. So anything I do now in my professional career has to focus on one or all of those areas: the power of purpose, the will of
women. Joanna,
the power.
Yeah. So I think you're having maybe computer issues over there, but we lost your audio for a minute.
Okay, so I was leaving off with everything I do is focused on the power of purpose, the will of women, and the gift of giving.
Yeah, perfect.
So fast forward then, I was very much focused on women's empowerment, and I was living in Austin, Texas for 2 years, and I just had my first child, and I was feeling really isolated. I was working from home, and I thought, if only I could create a space for women. I knew I'd only be in Austin for a couple of years, but the one asset that I did have, I had some space in New York City, and upon return, I decided that I would open up a collective workspace for women. And I'd been thinking about it and saying, oh, there's all these reasons why I wouldn't do it. But as fate would have it, the people who were sharing the space with me left. And I was left with a big open space, over 2,000 square feet, in the middle of New York City, Union Square, and I was 8.5 months pregnant at the time. So I said, well, there's no better time than the present, and I converted the space into She Works Collective, launched the space within a few weeks, and filled it with amazing women who worked out of that environment. So that space still evolves. It's actually in the process of evolving again, which I'll share more about it later. As part of this journey, Lynn, I then decided that part of my experience was a very personal experience during childbirth. I got very, very sick. I almost died when I was having my second child. And I was exhausted. I was stressed out. I was working on my labor, actually. And when I recovered a few days later, I was back in my office after almost dying and having meetings, which was not healthy. I didn't realize it at the time because I would just keep going and keep going and keep going. And I'd been on this goal of making my life simpler. And I took a step back and said, this is not simplicity to me. This is not how I want to live my life. I had been reading a book, and we're all familiar of this book, Spark Joy by Marie Kondo, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And I had started putting some of her systems into place. I'd organized her entire apartment. Everything was perfect. It was completely KonMari'd. And I stood back and I looked at my beautifully organized room. This is about 3 months into having my son. I'd eventually the perfectly organized life where I felt that I could have all my systems in place. And I looked at our bed head and I saw a little spot on the bed head, Lynn. Turned out we had bed bugs.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No.
Yes. My husband had gone on a business trip and had brought some visitors back with him.
Oh, God.
In minutes, our entire apartment was turned upside down. We were living out of plastic bags. We threw our furniture out. I had a newborn child. It was just disastrous. And at the same time, I had to keep working, and I just was exhausted. Shortly thereafter, I got diagnosed with Lyme's disease.
Oh, my God.
Shortly after that, adrenal fatigue. I was very, very, very sick.
Oh, God. Sounds like it.
Yeah, I could hardly walk from point A to point B. Doctors were saying that I may have that I may be depressed, postpartum depression. They're testing me for cancer. They were really, they didn't know what was wrong, but it ended up that it was Lyme's disease and adrenal fatigue just from being stressed out and overworked.
Right.
Yeah. But at that time, I decided that I was going to create a blog around my process of what was happening to me. And I called the blog Curating Simplicity. I thought, well, this actually needs to be more than a blog. It needs to be a business. How am I going to make that work? So I think around this time, you and I had met.
Yeah.
And I started the process of creating a company called Curating Simplicity, which was focused on helping people declutter and organize their lives. And I went as far as actually training with Marie Kondo.
Yes.
So I trained with her and became one of her certified consultants to understand her process. Not that I was going to be that person to go into the home of other people, but I wanted to understand and get really close to what her process was and what it stood for. And then from that, we went on to develop our own process, which was similar to hers, but it was taking the real life person into mind, that everyone has their own individual needs and everyone's in a different place in their journey. So we launched Curating Simplicity. We had organizers and continue to have organizers that will go into your home and help you declutter and organize. Now, talking about evolving, I realized that through Curating Simplicity, I still wasn't really getting to the root of the problem. Why do we need to declutter? Why do we need to organize? And I took a step back again, and Lynn, you and I have had many conversations about this. And what we really are addressing here, in my mind, is stress. Women in particular are so stressed out. And how are we going to help women get over this stress? How are we going to support them as a community? How are we going to give them the tools that they need? And I believe that stress is an epidemic that women are facing today.
Yeah. No matter what walk of life they're on.
What walk of life?
Single mom, women in the workplace, retirees. It's definitely pervasive. It's part of growing up and being a human being in 2019. I mean, watching television is stressful. If
Exactly.
I mean, it is a nightmare from what's happening from a climate perspective to what's happening in global politics. It's very stressful.
Absolutely. So Curating Simplicity has evolved, and this coming September, we're relaunching as a platform that will help women navigate this stress epidemic and provide them with the tools. So whether it be decluttering and organize your home, or learning how to meditate, to practicing self-care, we're going to cover it all, and we're going to cover it in an online course, and we're also going to support it with workshops that will be held in our own space in New York City. So that's happening in September.
That's great. Now
it's happening in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's fantastic because it's so necessary. So do you see this as a platform that could be launched nationally?
Like this is a national everything is online. It's training courses online. We are also introducing products that can help with stress. One product in particular is called Stress and Fatigue. It's based on Ayurvedic herbs. It's actually the herb blend that I use myself to help me get over stress and to help me heal along with other tools. But this was one very significant step that I took which was Ayurvedic herbs. So we actually created a custom blend based on the herbs that I took myself. And it's amazing. You can put it into your shakes. You can use it in your cooking.
That's
So that's
great.
a product we've been working on for over a year. And the time wasn't right again. I wasn't ready myself to launch a product. But now I am. So that will be launching.
So you'll be able to buy it online?
Buy it online. Our new website will be launching by the end of the month. It will be available online. We have an amazing Instagram group of people, women particularly, who are following us. I think we have over 7,000 people that have started following us. And
I'm Curating Simplicity on Instagram. That's great. So they
we
can find you
mm-hmm.
on Curating Simplicity on Instagram. I know it's a gorgeous site. It's beautiful too.
And we're going to be sharing a lot more personal content. I really want to start connecting more with our followers. There hasn't been a lot of me there. I'm a mom of two, and I've been very busy. Now I realize the importance of really connecting with your audience and being authentic and showing up as your authentic self. That's key to any successful business.
Yeah, it totally is. I think people just, one of the things that is always, to me, a struggle with Instagram is that it became a platform that was beautiful. And because of that, it's people get stressed out in terms of how we going to create this absolutely beautiful post that's going to go with everything else on this feed. Well, that's changing because people want authenticity. They want something that looks real and, isn't just a photo journal. So, or if it is a photo journal, it's authentically a photo journal, not something that you bought from the greatest photographers out there. So I think that's changing, and I think people are embracing it. You go on Instagram TV and you see very real posts that, they're just snippets of people living their lives, which I think is great. So yes, everybody follow Joanna on Curating Simplicity on Instagram, definitely.
And what you're doing here, Lynn, with LDTV is also giving your viewers a window into people's lives.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I think what we want to do is, okay, look at your background, a serial entrepreneur, founded a working space, founded many companies, went on to be, your first PR venture, named one of the best top PR companies, but you're real. You've got a struggle. You almost died. You've got Lyme disease. I mean, it's the backstory. It's not just this perfect on paper successful woman. It's the fact that you've got to juggle, stress, adrenal fatigue, getting up every day, moving from Austin to New York, starting a business. It's all those things that go into it. It's not just that great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we often surround ourselves with fear. It's like, what if will happen? What will happen if I do this? Instead of what's the worst thing that can happen? Or what's the worst thing that can happen? But we also have to look at what the best thing is.
Absolutely. What is the best thing that can happen? I think we have to shift. I did a Facebook Live a couple of months ago about the shift from Monday to Friday. We all look as Friday as this end all and be all, and yet we're missing every other day of the week that's just as important. It's the same kind of thing. Every day is important. Look for the good. Be grateful about things. Try to do things better. If you fail, you fail, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Pick yourself back up and do it all over again, or adjust it and do it better next time. I
think especially for women, a lot of times there's pressure that they have to be these perfect people because of images that have been developed over time about what perfect women look like. And I think that's just, hopefully that's being debunked.
And the other thing, Lynn, for those of you in the corporate world, and I have dealt with and continue to deal with a lot of corporate clients, I let them know who I am. I let them know that I have a family, that I have boundaries. Boundaries are really important to set. can be challenging at times, but setting your boundaries, letting them know that I have 2 young kids. If I'm going to be late for a meeting, or if I can't show up to a meeting or need to reschedule, explain why. And honestly, if the people that I'm working with don't appreciate that and understand it, I probably don't want to be doing business with them anyway.
Yeah, I think that's important. I worked for a woman when I was doing a temporary assignment at Warner Lambert many years ago. I was working at J. Walter Thompson, and they sent me to Warner Lambert, and I worked there for like 9 months in the marketing department. They introduced 2 products. I was helping out. They sent me. And it was a fabulous experience. And I worked for a woman who was extraordinary at that. She was a marketing director, and she would take no calls outside during the day except when they had to do with her child. She was very open and upfront about the fact that she was committed to her job, but that child was hugely important in her life, and she was going to be able to do it right. And that goes back a very long time. And now you see more and more women doing it, but she had the courage to do it then. She also was extraordinarily disciplined, that if she had booked a meeting from 9 till, if they booked a meeting for her to attend from 9 to 10, at 10 o'clock, she got up and left the meeting and went to do something else, which I always found extraordinary, because she valued her time.
Yes.
Because she was out the door at 5 o'clock. And that's, again, because of the child she was raising. So it can be done. Yeah. It's not easy.
It's not easy. And that leads to another topic, which is saying no. It is okay to say no.
Yep.
I think we as women in particular have the tendency to say yes, yes, yes to everything. But once we start prioritizing and realizing that I can actually say no, and really choosing how you spend your time, and prioritizing your time, that's really important for us. Actually, one thing you said to me a few months back, Lynn, is only prioritize the items that have a dollar sign next to them. Where's the
dollar bills? I think it's yeah. I hope I'm quoting the right one. I always get Amber McHugh and Melissa Griffin mixed up, but Amber McHugh, I'm sure it is. She did a video about, the importance of going after the $100 bills. And I tell people that, she said, close your eyes and visualize money coming down from the heavens. It's raining money. What are you going to reach for? The 5s? The 1s? No, you're going to reach for the 100s, because that's where you want the most money in the least amount of time. So you've got to focus on the $100 bills. And it's so hard to keep that focus, because it's so easy to get distracted.
It is. And actually, on that note, Lynn, the power of visualization. I visualize all the time. I imagine myself running my business, what it's going to look like, who's going to be working for me, the functions that they're going to have, what it's going to be like 10 years from now. And there's been many pivots along the way, and we're not even close to being where my vision is, but we're certainly further along than I was 3 years ago, which was just an idea.
Right. So what's that vision look like?
So actually, I'm just going to touch on one thing quickly, and that is, I often meet women who will say, I want to start this business, and I have this idea that I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then I'll say to them, so instead of introducing yourself to me as I want to start this business, how would it feel if you actually said to me, I have this business called XYZ, and if you want to learn more about it, here's my website. So it's all about taking action and taking that vision that you have and at least doing one thing. So start momentum, start movement, because momentum builds momentum. So that is one important lesson that I've learned through my career and through the businesses that I've launched, is that I just do it. I don't overthink it. And I'll reserve the URL. I'll start telling people that I have this new business. And maybe it's only an idea still, or maybe I've only written a short few paragraphs about what this business is going to be like. But once you say it out loud, it becomes real and you start building that momentum.
Yeah. I'm reading a book now by Dr. Joe Dispenza about, mortal people who do supernatural things. And it's all about the ability to take quantum energy and put yourself on the frequency where you can actually make amazing things happen. So it can be done. It definitely can be done. It should be done by everybody.
And I'm saying it. If you say it out loud, you create energy, you create movement, you start conversations, and that's
see yourself living that life that you really want to live. I don't know who said it, but in one of the books I was reading, your subconscious cannot take a joke. Everything you say, your subconscious takes literally. So if you're driving down a freeway and saying, "This is killing me," I wouldn't do that, because your subconscious looks for a way to make that happen. So you never want to go there. You only want to say, think, and really have great energy around things that you want to make happen, because the mind is a computer and it really works to make that happen. So I'm going to ask you a few questions in our lightning round. So first, tell me what that vision of curating simplicity looks like in 3 years.
3 years. So the vision for Curating Simplicity is to become the international go-to place, both online and in person, for women in particular who are stressed out and they don't know what to do. We're going to provide the resources, so training. We're going to provide workshops online as well as in person. And my goal is 3 years down the road that we'll have our own retreat centers that focus on navigating.
We're going to ask about that, because obviously retreats are huge.
Yeah. Okay. So we actually want to have a home. I'm still determining if that will be in New York City. We now have a residence in Woodstock, New York. So what better place than the beautiful Catskill Mountains to have a retreat center. We're going to create more product that empowers women, whether it be our herbs, that's the first. So we're launching the line of herbs. Our stress and fatigue is the first one. Then we have an amazing product, which is a turmeric-based product that we're launching. We're going to have some infusions with CBD in our product line too in the near future.
I'm a big proponent,
Yes, I do. So that's our future in the next year to 3 years.
That's fantastic. I know you'll do it.
And actually, I should mention our co-working space, She Works Collective. I've opened up an entire area that I'll be announcing. I guess this will be the official announcement today. It's called Simplicity Space. So
that's great.
A beautiful environment with couches and lounge chairs and desks to work from. And we're inviting women who are healers, makers, and creators, and creatives, I should say, to come to that space. And we've created really reasonable membership rates for them to be able to participate. And with those rates, they then have access to an event space that they don't have to pay for. So they'll have free event space.
That's great. So if people watch this and they want to find out more, how do they do that?
They can just email me, Joanna at curatingsimplicity.com.
Perfect.
I invite everyone to follow us on Instagram, because that's where we're going to be making all these announcements.
Great.
So it's all going to happen there.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to ask you in our lightning round. This is I got the inspiration from James Lipton. Remember him? He used to do in the Actors Studio.
Yes, I do remember, yeah.
Yes, I loved him. Okay, so a person that inspired you or currently inspires you, and why?
Well, I don't have any one person. I have to say that I'm inspired every day, every week. Last week, I was so inspired by that beautiful young girl, Greta.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, the work that she's done really staying true to her mission, who she is, and her beliefs.
Yep.
You know, she sat in front of the UN, or she went to the UN. They have the Youth Assembly climate change conference taking place, and she got in a sailboat and crossed the ocean on a sailboat.
I know.
Over I think the journey was 2 weeks.
I know.
So I read her story, and I follow her, and I was thinking, wow, a 16-year-old can do this.
Yep.
And stay true to her beliefs and what she stands for. You know, I need to remember that too, that I need to stay true to who I am, what I am as a person, and what I stand for. Then last week, my grandmother too, she turned 98 years old.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have any one person. I think it's easy to say this one person is amazing. She did great things. I'd rather live in the present and take lessons from women who are doing it right now.
Definitely. Best business advice you ever received?
Just do it. just do it and figure it out later. You know, evolve, take an idea and go with it, and you'll figure out how once you start doing it.
I agree. An app that you can't live without?
Well, I think because we're really trying to grow our Instagram account, I love Planoly. Plano, is it Plan OLY? Planoly.
Yep.
And it lets you build out your grid in advance, so it automates and it posts automatically for you, so you can put in all your content, and then you're hands off for as much time as you want. You'll still have to go in and make comments, but it does help the process.
Do you do the free version, or do you have to pay Is it $9.99, or is there a free?
We have a few different accounts, so it's we pay. Yeah.
Okay, but it's very reasonable. Planoly is great. I think there is a free option.
Actually, there's one other one that I just learned about. It's called Blinkist. It's how to read books. They actually give you the short version of books. So instead of having to read an entire book, if you're really time poor, it will shorten it and read the book to you in short, you know, I think it's half an hour segments.
They're business books, right?
Any type of book.
Oh, I thought it was business only.
I believe it's every type of book. I've only done the business ones myself, but
yeah.
I thought
I think it's great. It's fantastic. Cut to the chase. A person or account besides Curating Simplicity that people should follow on social media?
Wow. You know, I always love going to Well and Good for their content. For content as to what's happening in the wellness space.
Great. A charity that people may not be aware of that is doing great things.
This is a hard one because I'm involved with a bunch of different charities, so I'm just going to give everyone a call out, Lynn.
Of course. Of course.
So one of the charities that I work with through my consultant business is called the First Responders Children's Foundation. And this foundation actually awards scholarship to children who've lost their parents, who are first responders. The charity is very timely actually right now, given that 9/11 is around the corner. This charity was started just months after 9/11, where they hosted a Thanksgiving breakfast for all the families of the first responders who were lost at 9/11, and that charity has carried on. So they do amazing things. I'm so honored to be working with them. And so that's one charity. The other charity is called Softkin, and that is actually with another project that I'm working on called She Tech. It's to empower women through technology. And Softkin was founded by an amazing woman by the name of Chaya Pamula. And Softkin helps children in India who are orphaned or don't have family to care for them. And she now has over 100 children. And again, she started off with an idea. She took 2 young children, who had no family, little less than 20 years ago. And now she has over 100 children that she houses. And cares for like her own, sends them to school. The first one of those 2 children that she took in has graduated from college and now has been absorbed into her company, into her technology company, works for them. He travels the country talking about his experiences, and he's won numerous awards for the work that he does.
So amazing.
Amazing charity. Yeah.
So great.
Sofkin, SOFKIN.
Great. Great. A book that made a difference in your life that you read full, not cliff notes.
Well, I have to say, given what I'm doing today, it would be Spark Joy by Marie Kondo.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Yeah, that is the book that made a significant difference as of the recent past. A book that actually I keep going back to, and I recommend people who feel that they're stuck, is a book called Do the Work. It's by Stephen Pressfield, and it's a very easy read. It's a very tiny book, and it really talks about just showing up every day. And if you're trying to create a product or write a book, in his case, it was writing a novel, having a system in place, a creative process in place where you actually sit down and you do something. And it could be just sitting in front of your computer and staring at the screen. It could be typing one word, and the next day commit to typing 2 words. It's a process that I practice a lot in every phase of my life, whether it be business or in personal. Is that sometimes if we look at a project as this big, overwhelming task, that we'll never get started on it. But if we commit to ourselves to doing one thing every day, that's how momentum is built. And it really does work.
That is great. So, viewers, Joanna is, remember, Curating Simplicity, Joanna at curatingsimplicity.com. Follow her on Instagram. If you're interested in being a Curating Simplicity representative, also reach out to Joanna.
Yes, so if you are in the organizing space, if you're in the wellness space, if you are committed to helping women address this stress epidemic that we're facing today, and you have a product or a particular service that you want to share with us, I'd love to hear about it. Okay,
now we're winding down, but I am going to give away, Joanna, you know what this is.
Yes, this is Gina's Sage. Good Living is Glam. This is another friend of mine of 20 years and
amazing entrepreneur. I'm hoping to get her on here. You know, Gina, I'm hoping to get her on here. She's busy, but she'll come on. Anyway, this is a smudge stick. It's an amazing smudge stick. It's all organic. It's so beautiful. It has rose petals and it has lavender and, of course, sage. So I am going to be sending out to 2 of our viewers a sage stick. So drop a comment in the comments section, and I will draw we'll draw it after the replay plays a couple of times. Patty, yay! Might be coming your way. So send me also, just drop a comment and also send me an emoji along with your comment. And then what I'll do is I'll pick, and then I'll private message you, and we can figure out the details on shipping and everything. But also, it would be wonderful if you consider LDTV Talk on YouTube, subscribing. You know, we're going to be archiving our shows there, so we'd love it if you'd consider that. That'd be great. And any comments about future people, you know, who you'd like to see here. If there's an entrepreneur who you could recommend, you know what we're looking for: women who are committed, who are making a difference, wellness space, entrepreneurial space, fashion space, beauty space, health. And also what I want to do, because it's very important to me and to many of our viewers, I want to highlight people who are helping to rescue animals and how rescuing pets has really benefited their lives and many lives. So we'll be talking about pets, pet rescue, health, beauty, all those other wonderful things. So just drop some comments and we'd love to hear from you. So that's our show for today. Joanna, I thank you so much for being my first guest.
And thank you for all that you do, Lynn, and for being an inspiration every day.
Oh, thanks. I love doing it. You know, my sister who's on here, she'll tell you. Talking is one thing that's not difficult for me.
Yeah.
So I love doing it. So anyway, we're going to be here next week at 11 a.m. also. Paula Jennings, who is a very, very close friend of mine, also a partner in Kismet Alchemy Retreats. She's going to be doing a healing meditation for trauma because it is 9/11. And for many of us, even who weren't touched personally by 9/11, it was one of the most traumatic days in our lives. And she's going to be doing a healing meditation about trauma. It's not going to be the focal point of the show. The show is going to be about positive energy, but we felt it was important to reflect on the fact that trauma is something that people go through and some never heal from it. And a healing meditation is something we can all use. So we look forward to having Paula on. And Joanna, thank you again.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everybody. And
viewers,
you're curating simplicity.
Absolutely. Thank you. And it actually, one thing I want to add before we leave about decluttering your space, it's not just about making space. Decluttering really changes your energy and shifts your life and moves you forward in ways that you can't imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for being here, and we'll see you next week. Is this continuing? Stop streaming.